Conference Finals. We will get that going tomorrow night for you in the NBA. LeBron and the Lakers are underdogs for the third straight series this postseason. Denver currently a 5.5-point favorite for tomorrow night's Game 1 at home. This, of course, is a rematch of the 2020 West Final when LA beat the Nuggets in 5 games. Okay, and so let's get into this here. Woj, I will start with you. How did the Lakers get here after starting the season 2-10?
Well, most importantly, Greeny, they finally got a healthy LeBron James and a healthy Anthony Davis together for a significant stretch. But at the trade deadline, the moves that the Lakers made to fortify the supporting cast around those two players, bringing in D'Angelo Russell, certainly Rui Hachimura prior to the trade deadline, Jared Vanderbilt. This became a roster that all of a sudden built around those two players, had some versatility, had some depth. They brought in shooting. They allowed Austin Reeves to become a full-time starter, and you've seen him blossom under Darvin Ham. And just how about the work of Darvin Ham this season? I don't think it's been talked about enough. This is a coach who started 2-10, worked through a lot of adversity with this team in the locker room, held this thing together. And when Rob Pelinka brought in reinforcements for him, and again, got a healthy Davis and James, and you've seen the job that Ham has done in these playoffs against a Hall of Fame coach, certainly in Steve Kerr. Taylor Jenkins, who was a close friend of his, comes from that Mike Budenholzer tree in Milwaukee, where a lot of those assistant coaches have gone on to be really good head coaches. And Darvin Ham has proven now he's one of them. And now he's in the conference final against Michael Malone and a really loaded Denver team that I think is peaked to finally break through and get to the finals. This is going to be a great, great series.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. Again, we'll have all the action for you on ESPN and ABC. So let's dive into where I think this thing ultimately gets decided, Vince. Nikola Jokic is the least celebrated all-time great player in the league because of where he plays and maybe because of the style he plays. It's not that pretty to watch. It's not like watching Vince Carter play in his prime. Let's put it that way. But to call it effective would be the understatement of the century. No one can do anything with this guy. But Anthony Davis can do things that almost no other big in the league can do either. So talk me through this matchup, Vince, because it feels to me like the series will be decided, as great as LeBron is, by the matchup of Jokic and AD.
So I'm going to start with Jokic. And the thing about Jokic is every time he steps on the floor, the guy that's guarding him is probably, I don't want to say more athletic, extremely more, like extreme.
Yes.
Like I'm talking about next level.
Correct.
And he finds a way because of his IQ. And you have to have discipline to guard a guy like that because you can match up and you see, you hear guys with a big tumble art and this, that, the fourth, he can't jump, but he just outsmarts you and he's patient. Like people guarding Luka. You have to be patient because they play at their pace. Anthony Davis, he's so athletic. He can start an offense. I mean, he can run the offense. He can get out and run, and that's going to be the challenge for Jokic is getting back and finding him in transition. Now, the thing that is going to be difficult is defensively, Anthony Davis' ability to stretch the floor is going to be the key because when that paint is open, that's when now Reeves and Russell and all these guys and LeBron can get into the paint. But Anthony Davis has to be careful with foul trouble.
Yes.
That's going to be the key to me because Darvin Ham has not used his other bigs that he has. So when he gets in foul trouble, where do you go there? Now you're going to move LeBron over to the 5? I don't know. You always talk about wearing LeBron down. That's going to wear him down trying to guard that big fella.
There's the concern about foul trouble, and then, I hate to even say it out loud, but with Davis, you're always concerned about him getting injured. If it's a little nick here, a little nick there, and the next thing you know, he can't go, and that's when they're really finished. But this feels like such an opportunity for Anthony Davis, doesn't it? There was a moment in time when he was the answer to the question, if you're starting an NBA franchise right now, and you could have any player in the league, people were saying Anthony Davis. No one is saying that now, but this feels like his chance. If he outplays Jokic in this series,
he's back.
And the Lakers go to the finals, Davis is back.
Yeah, he's back, right. And there was also a time where ESPN did a ranking that they do every year at the start of a season of the top 100 players in the league. He was number 2. LeBron James was number 1. Think about that also for a moment. But this is not like the bubble matchup. where they also had Dwight Howard coming off the bench.
Yep.
They also had JaVale McGee coming off the bench. A lot of bodies to throw at Jokic to wear him down. As we saw with DeAndre Ayton in the previous series, Jokic wore Ayton down. And that's your biggest concern with the Lakers is Anthony Davis not only has to give you 25, 30 on this end of the floor, but he's got to guard Jokic 24/7. And while he is big and the dad bod and all that stuff, he's slow but quick. And so you always are on alert. It will be mentally exhausting. It will be physically exhausting if Anthony Davis has to spend exclusively all his time defensively on Jokic.
I want to give you one thing to that. And just think about this. When you're guarding Jokic, you want to stay close to him. If Anthony Davis always has to go help side, swing the ball one side to the other, then this guy hits you. That's going to wear him down, and that's where I think injuries and all that thing can occur.
Look, I mean, you see the question on your screen. The most important player in the series, Anthony Davis and Nikola Jokic. The answer is yes. The answer is it's the two of them. Seaport, we are brought to you by Grey Goose, and we are jam-packed. Put your feet up. We got an unbelievable hour coming your way, and it starts with an unbelievable day. The statement of the afternoon made yesterday at home in Boston by that man, Jason Tatum, who had shot his team into this Game 7 with a big fourth quarter the other night and then shot them through it. This was a huge moment in the game. Second quarter, Sixers are up by 8, as you see on your screen. And James Harden has called for a flagrant here as the hand just swings into the face of Jaylen Brown. And look, it probably would have gone back in the other direction anyway, but it was in exactly that moment that the entire game turned. Here comes Jaylen Brown later in the second quarter. He would score 25, Celtics extending a lead. Final minute of the second quarter, tied at 52, but not tied for long. Jason Tatum was unbelievable yesterday. He had 25 in the first half, and he was just warming up. Third quarter, Tatum would single-handedly outscore the Sixers. This was a game at the break. It wasn't. About 3 minutes later, here comes Tatum heating up over Embiid once, over Embiid twice. Even he himself can't believe what he's done. At that point, he'd outscored the Sixers 8-3 in the quarter, but he was just getting started. Here comes Tatum up, left side, three-pointer. Tatum 13 points in the third. The Sixers just 6. Not shown any offense from the Sixers because they didn't show us any offense to give to you. Tatum again getting it done, 42-3. It's a 25-point game. It's all over in the fourth quarter except one piece of business. With that three, Jason Tatum goes to 50. Put one more finger up, my man. That would be 51 points for Jason Tatum, the most ever in an NBA Game 7. And the Celtics blow out the Sixers and move on to the conference final. So the record held by Steph Curry of 50 points in a Game 7 lasted exactly 2 weeks. By the way, Tatum has dropped 50 now in a regular season game, an all-star game, a play-in game, a playoff game, and now a Game 7. On the other side, it was quite the opposite. A disappointing end to a season for Philly and the MVP, Joel Embiid.
I got to be better, and I will be better. That's what I'm focused on. All of us, we got to, come back and find ways to just keep improving and, help the team. You can't win alone. I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. So, we just need everybody to just, try to keep finding ways to get better, and, we'll be fine.
Okay, so there are so many ways to look at this. Woj is with us from Chicago. Huge week there with the draft lottery and everything tomorrow night. So he's be with us all through this. And here's the deal. We started this morning talking about the process. Yesterday was actually the 10-year anniversary of the day trust the process first became a phrase. And as Woj correctly pointed out, the process, as it was originally conceived, ended a long time ago. But the one piece of it that remained was Embiid. And so the big question, the one thing that could someday justify the process would be if Embiid leads them to the promised land. And so in many ways, while it might not really be officially the right way to describe it, it felt like once and for all the end of the process yesterday.
It did, because it has to put to rest this idea that this was all built because of losing on purpose, and the idea of collecting draft picks and the currency of hope that draft picks deliver because you sell the idea that one day this is going to turn into a championship. And it really ended up just being a coping mechanism for losing. Fans were chanting, trust the process, while they were going through epic losses. But then you get draft picks. It's what you do with those draft picks that lead you to the That's the real process. And here they get one player that they still have all these years later, and that one player is struggling to get over the hump, not to just win a championship,
right?
To get to the Final Four. He can't even get that far. So thoughts and prayers to the process. We can finally stop talking about that as a good idea, and I think the NBA should celebrate it, because the idea that you have to now include a play-in tournament, this became such a fad that you needed a play-in tournament to incentivize winning and get everybody away from the idea that losing and collecting draft picks was the way to go in this league.
Another piece that they got in the process was Ben Simmons, whom they turned into James Harden. So I guess in another way, that was a piece of it that was on display yesterday. So let's start with Embiid. I mean, to whom much is given, much is expected. And that's, what it's like to be a superstar in the NBA, expected to carry things. So when you hear Embiid talking there after the game and you see the disappointing way that it ends, what are your thoughts on him?
My thoughts are, he got what he wanted, the MVP.
Yep.
And he wanted to prove that, which he did.
Yep.
With that responsibility comes the bigger target, which is now in the playoffs, which he got. And now I think he just – I think when fans – and I'm going to say when fans watch, we think what we see in regular season is going to translate. Some understand it, but it's another thing is the reality. Because the teams get an opportunity to make adjustments. We saw those videos all morning how Boston made adjustments. They took away the pocket pass, which was their pet play, which he feasted off of, where he either got a jump shot or got himself into an ISO. They started to take that away. They started to load guys over. Now Joel has to be a little better. But my thing is, he says one thing that he said that I didn't agree with. James Harden got them a win in Game 1.
Yes.
I think after Game 1, everybody's like, what? How did the Celtics let that one slip away with no Embiid and James Harden turning back the clock, if you would?
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.